Hello and welcome to my review of A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. It's been a while since I've done a film review, but it's been also a while since I've been to the cinema. But having read some of the less favourable reviews when I got back earlier today, I did think I wanted to do one that was a bit more positive, because for me it's an absolutely lovely film. It's not perfect by any means, but I certainly think it's better than a lot of the reviews that I've read. Remembering the title is tricky, so I've even had to write that down. So yes, the title needs some work. It's not easy to remember. It doesn't trip off the tongue very well, and I don't like it very much. But the title, it's sort of irrelevant really. So my own big, bold, beautiful journey began when I decided I wanted to go to the cinema, had a voucher, had a quick look at what was on. Not a right lot really that interested me. A few action films, watched the trailers for those, thought they were unwatchable. Then stumbled across this one. I do like Colin Farrell. I've seen him in a few things, True Detective and also Banshees of Inisherin, which actually did really, really well, that film. And I thought that was quite weird and wonderful, but I did really like it. Margot Robbie, despite the hype, is not somebody I've personally followed or really seen much at all. I did watch a film, didn't get very much attention really, with Garrett Hedlund, because I love him, called Dreamland, which was a sort of modern day Bonnie and Clyde, which I thought was rather good. Of course, Barbie, I must be one of the only people who didn't see Barbie. It's a sort of a film I suppose I should watch, but one that never really sort of grabbed me. But of course it did really, really well at the box office. But anyway, having looked through what was on, I thought, yeah, this new film looks certainly watchable. So I asked a friend, she said, yeah, I'm interested in seeing it. So on the way to picking up my friend, I drop it off at another friend with some stuff that I had for her, and I said, I'm off to the cinema to see this film. And she says, what are you going to see? And I couldn't remember the title, so I said it's the new Margot Robbie one, to which she said, my parents saw that last night. And I said, oh no, is it any good? And she said, well, my dad said it's a bit weird. So I thought, right, okay. So that was all she said. So anyway, we get to the cinema. We're the only ones in there, which I think is a real shame, because I do love the cinema. I don't go nearly enough myself because the cost, I think, is ridiculous. That's another matter that I go on and on about. It's now like £15 just per person to go to the cinema. There we are with an empty cinema. I mean, it was an unusual time. It was a 3:00 screening when people go to pick up their children, and it is a funny time, so that probably didn't help matters. And it has been out a couple of weeks now already. But I do think, they're paying all that electricity to screen it, the staff. It's a beautiful cinema. I think, why not have them for £5 or £6 and get people back into the cinema, not £15 when we should be encouraging people to come back. But that's my little rant over with. Apart from that, anyway, at least I knew I could go to the toilet and, we could say the odd word and we wouldn't be, disturbing anybody else. So I was expecting a rom-com, and I have to say rom-coms are not my favourite genre. They're not my least favourite either, but they're not my favourite. So my favourites are really tragic, moving dramas like Brokeback Mountain, Manchester by the Sea, The Messenger, Prince of Tides, those really sad dramas. So I'm not a rom-com kind of girl at all. I can take them every now and then, but I was going expecting a feel-good rom-com with my friend for the afternoon on a nice sunny autumn day. And to some extent that's what we got. But I also think it was far better than the average rom-com myself. However, if somebody had told me that it had used sort of very strange comedy at times, quite ironic in places, and also very strong elements of fantasy and sci-fi, I don't think I'd have gone, I have to say. And also, if I'd have been at home watching it on a DVD or streaming like I often do, I think I probably would have turned off after 20 minutes, because I tend to do that now, because people say if you're not feeling it in the first 20 minutes, turn it off. But I'm so glad that I didn't, because I really, really did rather enjoy it. It's not perfect, but I think their performances are lovely. I think the premise of it is really interesting, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that now, but it's, obviously it sets off in a romantic journey. They're at a wedding, they meet, that they're going to fall for each other. But the way they do it is the fear of starting a new relationship because of past relationships that haven't necessarily gone particularly well, and the fear of getting hurt, basically. And so it does it in a quite an abstract way, and it's also very independent feeling, I think, despite the big over 33 million I think it cost to make it, which is incredible, but it definitely has an indie feel, and there's parts of it that I really like. And again, you sort of see them on this car journey, and then they go and try and unlock this door, which is about sort of 20 centimetres deep, and then you're expected to believe they're in this great big museum, or they're in a lighthouse, or they're in this old school. And again, it is a bit odd, but for me, I didn't really mind, because I just thought it was believable. It was like a flashback, but a flash sort of through this door, obviously the doors of their past, and doors that have been closed, and for whatever reason, all that you can read into it. But I think it moved along really well. I liked the soundtrack. I didn't really know any of the songs as such, but I thought that really complemented it. And I think there was a deeper message beyond it all, which was actually rather poignant. And there was moments where I thought it was really quite poignant, especially with her mother. And a bit of a spoiler here, she loses her mother when she's 19. She feels obviously very guilty for not being there when her mother died, and that's, I think, affected some of how she is in relationships, and that's explored. There's also some other fine little things that I enjoyed, because for my job I have to do a lot of mental health training, and I've done mindfulness courses and things like that. And one of the things that they say is, which I thought was rather nice, is happiness is a place that you visit. It's not a place that you're supposed to be in all the time. And I think with social media and the way we are sometimes, I think to some extent, people think they have to be happy all of the time, and that's just not the case. That doesn't mean you have to be sad, but I think it means content, and that's what they said. Contentment is what we aim for, happiness is what we strive for. And there was themes of that which I rather like, just subtle little themes, things like that going through it. And I just really enjoyed it, and I wanted to put a review out there in case anybody else enjoyed it. And I'd really like to know your thoughts in the comments box if you did enjoy it. But what was very interesting was at the end of the film, my friend had given nothing away at all. I turned to her and I said, did you enjoy that? And she said, no, I didn't. And I said, really? And she said, no. And I said, well, did you like some of it? And she said, no, none of it. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I thought we both sat there watching the same film, and she gave it about a 3 out of 10, but I gave it a good solid 7. I didn't like the language. That's the only thing. I'm not a prude by any means, but I did think there was far too much swearing in it. Unnecessary. It just didn't need to have all that swearing. But other than that, I thought it was quite a nice, charming move through the past. And some of the touches, like when they appear in the painting and the lighthouse bit, I liked. And definitely exploring the loss of her mother were, for me, the highlight. For me, the point of the film was very much looking at your past, seeing how it shapes you, and then trying to learn from it in the future. I think that's what it's about. It's a shade long at 1 hour 49, although on some sites I've seen that it's listed at 2 hour 19 minutes, which could put people off even more. But it's definitely only 1 hour 49, 109 minutes it lasts. I did say to my friend it could perhaps have had 15 minutes shaved off it, to which she replied it could have had 1 hour 15 shaved off it. So how two people can perceive something very, very differently. So do let me know your comments in the comments box.